Hi, and welcome to Advancement Tech. Give me a few moments and I will check and make sure that everything's going well with the stream. I have my chat down here, so I'm going to be consulting looking down there. So it looks like things are good. And just check this here. Make sure that the scene shifts and we will get ready to get started. Okay, so welcome to Advancement Tech. My name is Preston Jameson, and this is episode 8, where we talk about what is conversion rate optimization. So thank you for coming to this live show that is every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or actually Daylight Savings Time now. I am doing this to be able to chat with you. So if you are present, want to ask questions, feel free to do so. We are live on YouTube, so you will need a channel account in order to chat. But I will be checking chat periodically to see if there's any questions as I go through what is conversion rate optimization. Okay, so firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming. First, I'm going to talk a brief background about myself. We're going to go into 15 to 20 minutes of education, and then we'll have a Q&A period in case anybody has any questions. All right, so who am I? Again, my name is Preston Jameson. I've worked at 2 different universities over 12 years. I oversaw development and advancement services at those universities. Since then, I founded a company and developed a product called Advancement Form that does online giving and event registration. Okay, so what is conversion rate optimization? Now, you'll also see this called CRO as its acronym. So this is the best definition that I was able to find from Moz.com actually. And it's conversion rate optimization is the systematic process of increasing the percentage of website visitors who take a desired action, be that filling out a form, becoming customers, or otherwise. The CRO process involves understanding how users move through your site, what actions they take, and what's stopping them from completing your goals. So a lot of conversion rate optimization has at its central core is a goal. What goal do you want them to take? Do you want them to fill out a survey? Do you want them to attend an event? Do you want them to make a gift? Increasing the number of people that achieve that goal is what conversion rate optimization is all about. So actually, I just mentioned a few of those, but here are some actions in nonprofits that people want individuals to take. So for example, a website visitor, maybe you want them to sign up to your newsletter. You want some amount of people to sign up to your newsletter and be kept up to date with your mission or what your nonprofit is engaging in. The next type of action you may want them to take is maybe you want one of your constituents to fill out a survey. Another one that's common is you want them to attend an event. And of course, a big one is you want a prospect to actually give a gift. So basically, conversion rate optimization seeks to increase some sort of desired action. So you want to get a higher percentage of your prospects giving a gift. You want to get more of your constituents attending a specific event. So here's an example of a giving solicitation and the steps that would be involved. Now, in this example, I'm assuming this is an email solicitation. So not someone who would just come to the website. That would have its own flow, but this is from sending an email solicitation. Okay, so you have an email solicitation and you send it out. Now, one of the things you ideally want to try and measure, but it's exactly what's happening, is that first your prospects, whomever you send it to, have to receive that email. So it needs to be reliably delivered to their inbox. And then once that email is there, they actually have to look at it, be intrigued enough by the subject line to actually open your email. So that's another step to get over. And then once they open the email, presumably you have some sort of link in it that takes them to a website to make a gift. They actually have to click on that link to continue through to that website to engage in that action. Now, after they click the link, again, they get taken to the form, and they're going to view that landing page or that form. In other words, that link has to work sufficiently to get them onto the page or the form you want them to go to. And then after reviewing the information or the messaging or the copy that's on that form, they have to be convinced enough to go ahead and make that gift, for example. So they need to start filling out the giving form. And then even once they start filling out the giving form, they actually have to complete a gift. So, there are some people that start a gift, but they don't complete it. So all of these steps or processes that you would look to when you're thinking about conversion rate optimization, because there's a percentage that happens on each step, and you want to increase the percentage of people that are flowing through in each of these steps to increase the number of people who are making gifts to your institution. All right, so here we're going to look at some conversion percentages. So let's say you sent out 1,000 emails. Now, out of those 1,000, now some of these percentages are arbitrary. They're not something you should necessarily shoot for, but just some arbitrary percentages. Because when you're talking about conversion rate optimization, you want to know what your conversion rate is and measuring it. So this is a way you can think about doing it from tracking this information. So let's say again, this is an email solicitation, and you send out 1,000 emails. Well, from your tracking, usually from your email marketing metrics, it comes back that 300 are opened, or 30%. So you have a 30% conversion rate of people who open the email. Now, let's say out of that percentage, maybe you have 50 people that click the link, which is about 16.6% or so, or rounded up to almost 17%, actually click that link to go to your page. And let's say 10 of those people that did that read the copy on the splash page, if one exists, or the form, and they decided to start filling it out and actually making a gift. And that conversion rate was about 20%. And then actually 9 people completed a gift. Maybe something came up and their attention was diverted away, or maybe they had a question and they were confused by something on the form, or there was some other process, but basically say 9 out of 10 or 90% actually complete the gift once starting it. So your overall conversion rate for this email solicitation is number of gifts, 9, divided by the 1,000 emails, and then to get a percentage, you need to multiply it by 100. But with this 9 people out of 1,000, that's 0.9% conversion rate. So that's your conversion rate. And you can actually break this down by steps too to see what your conversion rate is. So you take this 30% from this stage to this stage, the 30% times this conversion rate times this conversion rate times this conversion rate to give you 0.9%, so your overall conversion rate. So what this means is that you can look at if you're tracking information this way, you can look and say, okay, where are we having people drop off? What can we do to increase the percentages? Like, for example, maybe you think this percentage is low, or you've talked to some peers and it sounds like they're getting closer to 50%. So then why are your messages not being opened? Is there some mechanical failure? And I call it mechanical, but like your emails aren't getting to somebody, your inbox for some reason. You have an email deliverability problem. Another option is that maybe the metrics are off to a certain extent, and that's why your open rate is low. Or maybe your subject line isn't compelling enough for people to open your email. That's another consideration. But examining those areas to say, what can we do to actually increase the number of people who open the email? That may be something that you want to do. Or even from the point where clicking a link to actually starting the giving form, maybe you're not happy with 20%, 10 out of 50 doing it. Maybe you want to increase that percentage conversion rate. So you'll take a look at maybe the messaging and the mission of the institution and how that's phrased, or what you're asking them to give for. That could influence whether they decide to go ahead and make a gift now or not. Another possibility is, from a mechanical perspective, is that maybe your giving form is not mobile optimized. So maybe people are looking at their email on their mobile device and they click the link within the email, but then it takes them to a form that is not optimized for mobile. Well, then maybe they decide to not continue at that point. So conversion rate optimization is looking through what your conversion rates are at each step of whatever process you're examining, and then saying, how can we increase the conversion rate for each particular step to ultimately increase the overall conversion rate. All right, so let's take a look at some things that can, actually, let me take a look at this for a second. I'm going to adjust this very briefly. Definitely doing it live. Okay, so let's take a look at conversion rate buckets. And again, I use the term mechanical. And generally what I like to do is divide kind of what you're thinking about you need to do. There's kind of mechanical things you can do to increase the conversion rate. And also, I'll call them, for lack of a better term, a messaging way. So some examples of some mechanical things you can do is that maybe your emails are not being delivered, or they're not being delivered at the rate that you want to achieve. Maybe you can change email service providers, or maybe you can change how you're building out your emails to not be caught by spam filters as much. So maybe you do more text-oriented emails to reach the inbox more than ones that have flashy graphics or including attachments or things of that nature. Another mechanical thing is that maybe the site is slow. Maybe someone goes on mobile and it's just so slow. That's a mechanical thing you can change. It's not messaging related. Or maybe your form is complex or confusing. Maybe you can do things to simplify the form. Those are kind of mechanical things you can do that will increase your conversion rate. The other kind of bucket that I say is your messaging. So what is your email subject? Is your email subject compelling enough for people to open the email once they receive it? Is your content not compelling either in the body of the email that convinces them to click a link or button to continue to your website, or even on the form itself or a splash page? Is it not compelling enough for them to be convinced to continue with making a gift or registering for an event? So I like to think in terms of these buckets on two general areas you can focus on to increase your conversion rate. Okay, so let's take a look at some steps you can do to improve your conversion rate optimization. So the most important thing to do is to measure it. So, like Peter Drucker says, what gets measured gets managed. So you definitely want to know what your base state is, because everybody's conversion rate is going to be different based upon how they have their things set up, their pool of constituents, etc. So what you want to do is just get a baseline. So look at your email marketing metrics, look at your form conversion metrics. So you should have a tool that does that. So for example, again, the product that I developed, Advancement Form, it does give you conversion rates on how many people started a form, how many people visited the actual form, how many people started, and then how many people converted. So those are reports you can get for the giving, attending an event, filling out a form like a survey. So you definitely want to have some base state of measurement to know where you're at, and continue to measure that to look for improvements. The next step is to test variations. So if you're looking to improve your conversion rate with regard to email open rates, maybe you want to test a few different subject lines. Or maybe if you're looking for the conversion rate from open to click-throughs on your emails, well, it's the body of the email you need to focus on, because presumably they opened it. Now you want them to actually take the action you want them to and actually visit your, say, your giving link or your event registration link. So you're going to want to test different maybe subject lines or maybe email body copy in order to improve your conversion rate or see what works for you and your constituency base. The next step is to concentrate on messaging and copy. So you really need to hone, and again, this goes back to the test out variations of your mission and kind of what you are raising money for or what the event is for, and does it match well with that particular constituent. So if that constituent has particular interests, but you're soliciting for something that doesn't align with those interests, then that's not going to be a good fit. You want to align what the constituent is interested in with what you are proposing for them to, event you're proposing for them to attend, or the gift you're proposing them to make to your institution. The next area to think about in terms of what you can do to improve your conversion rate optimization is this concept of scent. So maintain scent. What that means is that from whatever process you take from step A to step Z, you want to have it be similar in language, copy used, messaging, as well as design even. So for example, your email solicitation needs to be aligned in terms of messaging and design with the page they ultimately land on, whatever the landing page is. Because you don't want to, for example, have someone feel like they're in New York, receive an email like they're in New York, and then they click a button and now suddenly they're transported to a beach in Florida. It's just jarring, and essentially you've lost that connection from the email, and they're questioning, wait, is this the same site? This could be you send out an email solicitation to give to a particular cause, and then they're directed to a general donation page that they have to hunt and find what that particular cause is. It doesn't immediately bring up either a page that looks familiar with the email with the exact cause listed ready for them to make a donation. So that loss of the concept used as scent is that you're going to get a lot more people dropping off. So the more that you can have a consistent experience for the constituent to walk through, the higher your conversion rate will be. There'll be less concerns and less questioning what's going on. So that's another important point. Another step to improve your conversion rate optimization today is definitely optimizing for mobile. So if you have an email, the vast majority of the time now, people are checking that via their mobile device. And if you're asking them to click on a link, they may do that in mobile. And if your landing page, for example, or your giving form or event registration form is not ready for a mobile device, they're going to not fill out the form, say, oh, I'll deal with this later, and then maybe they forget about it. So being ready to handle potential constituents coming to your site on mobile devices is definitely something you need to optimize for if you have not already done that. The next thing to consider, again, this is in the mechanical area, is your site speed. So speed is very important when you're asking people to take a particular action, like register for an event, make a gift. If they check their email, they click on the link, and then it takes seconds to load, more than 2 seconds, or even longer, or even a little bit shorter than that, people are going to say, well, I have something else to do, or I'm in the middle of something. They're going to, again, put that aside and not focus on it. So again, site speed is incredibly important for increasing your conversion rate. The next step to think about is adopt simplicity. Now, what I mean by this is that simplicity in terms of the number of steps that you're asking your constituent to go through, or the number of fields they have to fill out on a form, so how many pages they have to go to finish a process, or if even just visiting, a general site to actually get to a registration form or a giving form, how far do they have to go through in that process to get to it. So minimizing the number of steps, minimizing the number of fields on a form, just making it as simple and easy as possible should increase your conversion rate. But again, going back up to you need to be measuring these things, and this applies for everything in testing variations. When you make these simplicity changes, hopefully you will see improvements in your conversion rate. The other step that you can do is remove navigation from your landing pages. So your forms that you're asking people to register for or to make a gift for or even fill out surveys, you want to have minimal or non-existent navigation. You don't want them to be focused somewhere else to visit some other part of the site. You know, the purpose of this page is to probably complete a form. So you're going to want to emphasize that. And one way you can do that is removing navigation from it so that they have the understanding, okay, I'm here to do this action. And another step that will improve your conversion rate optimization is focus on the buttons. And these could be buttons or these could be links, because these are, at least today, the keys to moving a prospect from one step to the other. So going back to the steps we were talking about before, about person receiving an email, opening an email, clicking a link, going to a page, filling out a form, submitting the form, so much of what brings that constituent to the next step of the process is clicking a link, clicking a button. So these need to be heavily emphasized. They need to be obvious and different from like a lot of the page, like maybe a custom color or a color that really stands out, and even size differences. Focusing on your buttons and optimizing those should help those stages where they impact your conversion rate. So definitely focus on buttons and even the language of the buttons. Some language can help your conversion rate. Language changes can help your conversion rate as well. Okay, so those are some steps you can take to improve your general conversion rate as you're measuring it. Now, there are a few warnings as you're starting to do more conversion rate optimization I wanted to bring up. First is that, I mentioned doing testing different variations to see if things work. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is that most of the test variations are going to not have an impact. And when I say fail, there will be no clear winner. So you'll try a variation of a subject line, but maybe it doesn't make a difference. Other instances, you'll have a clear winner, but a lot of times tests that you do, like changing a form, maybe it's not going to make any difference. So it's just something to keep in mind that it won't always be a clear winner. You do have to test various different things to see if you can improve your conversion rate. The next thing to keep in mind is that as you're using some of these tools, to really get a statistically significant variation requires large numbers that you're putting through the process. So like 1,000, I would say, is pretty light. I use the example of 1,000 emails. That's probably pretty low. In doing testing variations isn't as effective because you're probably not going to get that statistically significant numbers. So that's just something you keep in mind. Using conversion rate optimization and testing variations, doing A/B testing, it starts to really improve the larger numbers that you put into it. So testing 10,000 emails is better than 1,000. Testing 100,000 is better than 10,000. So the larger numbers you can put into it, the more accurately you can measure that a change was significant. Now, the other thing you want to consider as you're looking at this and you're making incremental tweaks, improving your conversion rate, is you want to be aware of a mathematical concept called a local maxima. So what is that? So this is an example of it. Now, this is a mathematical chart from Wikipedia, but let's assume this is 0 as opposed to right here. And you have a conversion rate that's here. And let's say you make a change to, say, a form and your conversion rate drops. So, okay, that wasn't a valid because you're going lower in your conversion rate. But then you make another change and your conversion rate goes up to here. And then maybe you make another change and it goes higher. And then you keep making changes and you get to this local maxima is what the concept is. So within this local area, you've achieved the maximum number of conversions. But the concern is this is a local maxima within the small variations you are making. It's possible to make a big change and the global maximum is actually over here. So you've been making incremental changes and you have gotten a relatively high conversion rate. But if you made more sweeping changes and made variations over to this point, you could actually achieve, a more than double increase in your conversion rate. So the warning is just be aware of this concept that as you're making incremental changes, there could be big changes that you could make that would give you an even higher conversion rate. So it's just something to keep in mind as you're focusing on CRO, conversion rate optimization. It's not a panacea because there are cases where you can do big changes and you'll see significant improvement. All right, so that is the content I have for this week with regard to conversion rate optimization. So at this point, I will go ahead and take questions. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat and I will be happy to answer them. While I wait to see if there's any more coming in, upcoming shows, actually still planning that. I try to have what the upcoming show is for next Friday, but I don't have one at this time. So if you are in chat now, or if you're looking at this later, feel free to leave a comment in YouTube about what you would like to see for upcoming shows. So Advancement Tech is technology show for the benefit of advancement offices, fundraising, and nonprofits. So please feel free to give show suggestions with regard to technology for nonprofits. So I have a few ideas, and I'll probably make put the update on Monday on the show page. But until that time, I'm happy to receive any suggestions about what you would like to hear about. Okay, I don't see any questions right now, so we will go ahead and end our show for this week. Again, if you want to get notifications of upcoming shows and to get notifications of the replays of the shows as they've happened, please go to advtech.tv and you can sign up to receive email notifications. Also, you can subscribe via YouTube, and it would be great if you could give this video a like and also subscribe to our channel. We are trying to grow our audience, and it would be great to have more people taking as a part of the show. All right, that does it for this week. I will see you next Friday.